Hey friends, Peggy Hall back with you from thehealthyamerican.org. A little bit of a lighthearted video for you, if you can call it that. And I would like to know if you've heard of Bob derangement syndrome. Well, you've heard of Trump derangement syndrome, and it turns out that there are a lot of people that still aren't quite seeing the truth about, I call him Bob the Bamboozler, because he has been lying and cheating and deceiving, especially those who have been supporting him. So I've done several videos all about responding to those who are telling me that I just don't understand his strategy. One of my recent ones was called Let the Man Work, and that was responding to these videos and substacks that are coming out from people saying that I'm just not smart enough to understand that when he says the measles vaccine is the best way to prevent the measles, he's not promoting that. He's just stating it. I guess that would be like saying Trump is the best one for president. It doesn't mean you're endorsing him. It just means you're stating a fact. Not that I agree with that fact, but I'm just using an analogy. So I've got several substacks where I did a deep dive. I did another one, RFK's focus on red dye is a red herring, and RFK supporters are finally waking up. What I want to talk to you about is the Bob Delusion Syndrome. And we're going to break this down because I have been speaking about Kennedy and sharing with you over many, let's see, I've got this here for you. This is my playlist of videos. The title of the playlist is RFK, and I have got over 40 videos where I am sharing with you his exact words of being, as he says, fiercely pro-vaccine. So let's take a look at how those who are still supporting this man are justifying it. So here we go. Phase one. When I shared these videos, people said, Peggy, he's not pro-vax. You are twisting his words. He's really anti-vax. So you told me that I was taking his words out of context. That's phase one. You didn't believe his own words. And I've got several videos that you can look at in that playlist. In fact, the most recent ones, I've taken a couple of snippets out so you can hear exactly what he says. He says, I've said it 100 times and people still don't believe me. That's his quote exactly, that he is pro-vaccine. The second phase is people say, well, we don't have anyone else. He's the only one who will stand up to big pharma. And this was prior to his Senate confirmation hearing. And people said all over social media, we need Kennedy as the HHS secretary. There is no one else who is qualified for the job. How an attorney is qualified for a job as the Secretary of Health and Human Services, I'm not quite sure. And I'm not quite sure why we need a Secretary of Health and Human Services. If King Mush can go through with his chainsaw and just bring down USAID in one fell swoop, why can't they bring down the CDC in one swell swoop? I ask you that. So phase three, we are told that RFK had to lie to Congress to get the job, that he's really anti-vax. Even though I shared with you on my Instagram page again and again and again, his statements, in fact, well, here's this most recent one just a few days ago. The most effective way to prevent the spread of measles is the MMR vaccine. So people said that's not an endorsement. You still have free choice. Well, I didn't realize all y'all were just fighting for free choice. I thought you were trying to educate parents as to the harms of certain products that would actually leave their children injured, damaged, maimed, and maybe even dead. So I thought that's what you wanted to talk about. I suppose I was wrong. He very clearly stated that he is in favor of this. In the Senate hearings, he said, I recommend parents follow the CDC schedule. That is a recommendation. And I do have those in the freedom movement that are actually friends of mine that are trying to defend the defenseless. And what I mean, the defenseless are the children. They are the innocent ones. And I would like to know who is going to apologize to the children and the parents of these children who actually went ahead and took his recommendation. You're telling me this is not an endorsement to say that he recommends parents follow the CDC schedule? I don't think you can be any more clear on an endorsement. He also says, and said this in the Senate confirmation hearing, vaccines play a critical role in healthcare, and he wants to protect vaccines, and he actually wants to increase the number of vaccines. It says right here, I support an uptake in vaccines. I want to protect vaccines. Now, this is an interesting one that I kept in my files here, and it actually came from the Children's Health Defense. Now, he no longer is in charge of the Children's Health Defense, but this was actually quite stunning. It says, if we want an uptake in vaccines, we need a trustworthy government, Kennedy said. That's what I want to restore to the American people and the vaccine program. I want people to know if the government says something, it's true. It's not manipulative. All right. Many people are only going to hear the part about, I want people to trust the government. Well, that's kind of far-fetched in and of itself. But his very first statement is, if we want uptake of vaccines, we need a trustworthy government. Who wants an uptake in vaccines? He does. And many are still supporting him. So I share this as a way of showing you what he said and what people are still denying. So in phase 3, I shared clips and I shared Substacks and videos, and I showed exactly that he said those statements. And people said, well, he had to lie to Congress to get the job. He's really anti-vax. You see, lying is okay, apparently. Well, then you have the right man for the job, because sadly, he lied to his spouses when he cheated on them. And I don't know how someone can trust an untrustworthy person. And if he would lie to the very person he's supposed to be the closest with, but he wouldn't lie to you. I know it's hard to accept, and that's called cognitive dissonance, which is what I'm trying to help you with here. I feel that it's more empowering to know the truth and to stand in your power and to not be bamboozled, hoodwinked, and duped, to not have the wool pulled over your eyes, to say, you know what? I was wrong. I followed that guy, and now I don't. And there are many of you that are telling me that exact thing based on the information that I'm bringing you. So phase 4 in this Bob Delusion Syndrome is people will say, he'll take down big pharma once he's in as secretary because he's really anti-vax. And then phase 5, once he's in and he's giving all of these statements that we've seen, people say he just needs time. Give him time. He'll take down big pharma any day now. So give him time while parents are following his very clear recommendation to go along with the CDC schedule. You're not concerned about that? I think you should check your heart and your conscience. And then this phase that we're in right now, stop criticizing him. He needs our support. He's our only hope. Well, I gave a lot of other hopes in previous videos. There are several individuals who are more qualified in my mind than Bob Kennedy. I have a whole video on that if you would like to see. And my strategy would have been to have a whole lineup of individuals go through in front of the Senate, actually tell them the truth about these products, not worry about being confirmed or anything, but set the stage and have on the record. Remember, in these Senate hearings, all of that information becomes a part of the federal record. Get it on the record, the evidence, the data, the information, the anecdotes, the experiences and stories of parents and children, and all of those previous candidates could have gotten that on the record. And then by the time Bob Kennedy comes out, he could have said, based on all of the previous testimony that you heard, when I'm confirmed as Health and Human Services Secretary, I'm going to investigate all of this, and then I will tell you my conclusion. That would have been a smart way to do it, and it would have been less deceitful, because he's either lying to the Congress and Senate or he's lying to you. It's one of those. Now, several people have sent me links to different Substacks saying that I'm too stupid to understand that Bob is playing 4D chess. I can't even find the chessboard. Well, I'm sure they didn't mean for that to come out so condescending. and belittling, especially when they're saying we need unity and we need to encourage each other. And I'm certain that these individuals don't want to be misconstrued as a part of a cult, where the like one of the hallmarks of being a cult in a cult is that you can't question your leader. I'm sure they don't want to be associated with a cult or even thinking that this would be one. So asking questions now, I'm being told, is wrong. It's not wrong. It's actually the sign of being a critical thinker. So that's where we are right now, this kind of a phase 5. Well, we're in all these phases in terms of y'all who are still supporting him. He just needs time. Give him time. He'll take down Big Pharma any day now. That's what people said about a week ago or a little longer. And we're in phase 6, definitely. He needs our support. Stop criticizing him. I think I mentioned this. He's our only hope. Well, I only hope, I don't put my hope in a human being. I actually seek the truth and I ask questions and I use a rational mind instead of an emotional response. And now people are in phase 7. RFK can't stand up to Big Pharma. What are you thinking? Big Pharma is too big. It's political suicide if he stands up to Big Pharma. Well, wait a minute. In the previous phase, you told me that he just had to be confirmed and then he would start speaking the truth. Now you're telling me to be patient. He'll do it any day now. Now you're telling me any day's not going to come because Big Pharma is too big and it's political suicide if he goes after Big Pharma. It gets worse, friends. Worst is worse than worse. And here we've got phase 8. Bob said that these products are the best way to prevent measles. He didn't say you had to take it. He just made a factual statement. He's for choice. I see. Okay. He didn't say he was for choice in front of the Senate when he said, I recommend that parents follow that schedule. And that was several weeks ago, actually a few months ago. And aren't you concerned about the parents who actually went ahead and did the 100+ doses, actually from an infant all the way through the age of 18? There are over 100 doses more if you include those pregnant women that are getting the jabs as well. That doesn't trouble you? That's not what you were fighting over all this time? Or fighting for, I should say. And then phase 9, kind of, it's woven into all of this. Bob just wants safe and effective products. That's all. He wants to have more safety testing. He wants to have the placebo safety testing because he loves those, to put those words together. Vaccine safety. There's a whole vaccine safety project that he wrote about and spoke about when he was a part of Children's Health Defense. Now, I know there are probably some sincere individuals at Children's Health Defense. I don't know. I actually don't know any of them, but it must be troubling to them, those who are actually writing articles talking about the harms that these products cause to children, and then hearing Bob, their former chairman, say, you know what? We need an increase in these products. We need more children to become human pincushions so then we can see whether or not poison is safe. Oh, in the meantime, we're going to be funding animal cruelty and torture and inflict these innocent animals with these products, even though animals and humans are different. I did a video recently where I said my dog Sandy, I'm told she's not supposed to eat grapes or chocolate or avocado, which I enjoy. So if those natural foods are harmful for a dog, then how could testing on dogs be extrapolated to humans? It doesn't make sense. Finally, and I call this the final solution, and I'm using that phrase specifically, people will say, let's do it. Let's go get the junior jab. Bob said it's safe and effective and necessary. It's been tested after all. He has restored trust in the government. He has restored trust in the CDC and the FDA and the HHS. That's what he said he's there for. He has said it again and again and again. And I have documented it over several videos. If you would like to do some research, take the time and watch the videos. It'll take you less time to watch the videos than it did for me to research, produce, upload, and share these videos. So if you're interested in the truth, I have laid it out for you. So what is going to happen I predict with those who are publishing Substacks and writing articles, and I haven't really seen any videos, but those who are doing Substacks saying, Peggy, well, Peggy and others, you've got it all wrong. You don't understand his strategy. No, I don't understand his strategy. His strategy is harming children and adults. But I'm specifically troubled and distressed by the harm that goes to children because they can't stand up for themselves. So the final solution and what he has been placed there for, this is my opinion, to capture all y'all who didn't fall for it the first time, who realized that the COVID hogwash was just that hogwash, and you slipped through unscathed. Some of you maybe did capitulate, and then later you said, I don't really want to go through that anymore. And maybe you actually believe that poison can be safe. But there are a large number of people that have stood against the government's intrusion, against these harmful products. They have been fighting for freedom for many, many years. And now that Junior is there to kind of pick up the slack, put someone in with a Kennedy name that they can trust. I don't know how you can trust an untrustworthy person. But once he says, good news, friends, we did the testing. I promised you that I was going to tell you in September, he said, the cause of autism. Yes, because that's on a timeline and he'll know exactly when all the information comes in. That's rather strange. What if he says it's caused by Fruit Loops and fluoride and the spraying in the skies and junk food? Then what? You'll believe him then? You'll roll up your sleeve and get the Junior jab because Bob tested it and said, we didn't rush it to market like we did in Operation Warp Speed, which, by the way, he applauded and said was amazing. And he said vaccines have saved millions of lives. He didn't mention the part about these products damaging lives. He couldn't have just added that to the sentence. Well, no, because you were in the previous phases as I explained them. But here you have it, the final solution. You can trust him. He's a Kennedy after all. So as I say, it's sad. It's sad that people are falling for the fraud. I see far too many falling for it. I mean, the Bible does say that wide is the path of destruction and many there be who will go there. It is hard for people to question their hero, especially when they put their faith, their hope, and their trust in a human savior. Sadly, they've done so in one who has a history of lying and cheating. I don't like to start slinging mud. That's not my intention. I'm here to share the truth. I'm not after anyone. I am after the truth at all cost. And I've paid the cost, trust me. There are prominent figures in the health and freedom and anti-cocktail, as I call it, movement. And I've responded to their concerns in previous videos and in previous Substacks. You can find that at peggyhall.substack.com. But I am legitimately concerned when those people start to tell us to stop asking questions. Telling people to stop asking questions is the hallmark of cult behavior. And as I just mentioned a few minutes ago, I'm sure that these Bob supporters, those who are suffering BDS, Bob Derangement Syndrome, I'm just poking a little fun here, friends, but it's really not a laughing matter. I'm sure they don't want to be construed as belonging to a cult with Bob as their leader. So let's drop the stop asking questions and you're not smart enough to understand it. These are very tired tropes and really should be shelved. So to answer many of these healthy Americans who are emailing me these Substacks and others who are saying Kennedy is just far too smart for us. You can't even find the chessboard. He didn't recommend the measles product. He just said it's the best way to prevent infection. How is that not an endorsement? This is gaslighting. It's indefensible, friends. You're telling me that parents who are hearing that message are going to be so clever that they'll understand that he didn't really mean for them to follow his advice when he told them publicly in front of the Senate during his confirmation hearing that they should follow the CDC schedule. and embark on getting their children those 100+ jabs over the course of their childhood, people aren't supposed to take him at his word. Well, people are going to try to twist themselves into pretzels. God bless them. They're doing a lot of pretzel making to try to make sense of his statements. So it is sad, and it's really sad for the children. And I also don't care for the phrase of we need unity, not division. Friends, I divide, okay? I divide facts from fiction, and I divide truth from deception. And I divide the frauds, phonies, and fakers from those who are seeking the truth. So yes, I do divide. And I wanted to just bring this video to you to give kind of a rundown on what I'm seeing in terms of Bob's supporters and how they started out saying that I was twisting his words. Then they said, well, you just took his words out of context. He's really anti-vax. And then you said, well, he just had to say that he was pro-vax. He'll change his tune once he gets, approved and confirmed and gets on the job. And then you said, well, he needs a little more time on the job. And as time's going by, and he very clearly is promoting these products, you're saying, well, he's not really promoting them. Give him a little more time. You don't understand. He'll stand up to big pharma. And now you're saying, well, he can't stand up to big pharma. They're too big. It's political suicide. We just want safe and effective products. So then you're in favor of more testing and an increased intake, meaning more of these products injected into children, because that's how you're going to do these tests. So you're in favor of that. And now you're not really in favor of educating people about these products. You just want a choice. I see. And then when he comes out and says, well, you can trust me, I've been on the job, I've done all the studies, and I figured out that these products are not really the culprit. Now, I hope I'm wrong. I would be the first to come on this channel and to let you know and to correct my statements if he comes out and says, guess what? This is what's really causing this condition of autism. It's not Fruit Loops after all. I don't care for the red herrings of shifting the focus onto junk food. Were you required to eat Fruit Loops to keep your job? Were you required to drink a big gulp in order to fly on a plane? Was your college student child required to eat Fruit Loops to play on the sports team in college? No, none of those things were imposed upon us. It was these products that they wanted us to put into our bodies. That's why that's where the focus should be. All right, friends, a little bit of a somber video for you, but it's very sad is the word that comes to mind. That people are unwilling to realize when they've been duped. They're hanging on to that thread. And it's sad for me that they're hanging on to the thread, regardless of what the topic is, because it shows that there's some kind of desire to be right and to not be let down. Maybe they were let down by someone in the past and I don't know. I'm not a psychologist here. I find it more empowering to stand on the side of truth and to not continue to hang on to the coattails of someone who is clearly deceiving you. I would love to see if this changed down the line. And if so, I'll be right back on the channel to let you know all about it. Thank you, friends, for being on board. I appreciate you as healthy Americans, people of discernment, people who are able to read between the lies and not be hoodwinked, duped, and bamboozled. I look forward to seeing you in an upcoming broadcast. Get on my free Substack, peggyhall.substack.com. I break all of this down for you in a written format so you can read, digest, and share. Thanks again, everybody.